name's Julian Odering. I'm fourth generation business owner here, and I've been learning my whole life. I did engineering when I was younger, and I couldn't keep away from horticulture, so I got back to it. I've got my own garden, and I really love doing my veggie garden and all the rest of the plants that are coming up with it. Right, so we're going to talk about the humble potato today. It's Solanum tuberosa type plant. It's native of tropical South America, and it's in the same nightshade family as a few other things like tomatoes, peppers, tobacco. And so when you're growing them, it's pretty important that they can be poisonous at certain times, especially if they go green. So always bear that in mind. They need to be covered up, or even once they're harvested, they need to be put somewhere where it's dark. It's a great staple food, the humble potato. It's packed with carbohydrates for energy and vitamins, and also high in potassium as well. So you can bake it, fry it, mash it. Sound a bit like Forrest Gump guy now, with the shrimps. Roast, boil, air fry, stuff it. Anything you can do with anything I've missed out?
Chips.
Sorry?
Fry.
Yeah, chips. Yeah, chips. Fry. I did say fry, I know. Oh, air fry. Oh, right, that's close enough. So basically in potatoes you've got determinate types and indeterminate types. Can you see that okay, everybody? A lot of people don't know this, but you've got your determinate types, which when planted will spread out. Like that. And then you've got your indeterminate types, which when planted tend to go more in layers. But today we're going to be talking about the determinate types, because I tried speaking to Morton Smith about it. He said no, all ours are determinate as far as he was concerned. So you should have a list of what potatoes we do have. Have you all got one of those? Mm-hmm. Good. So you've got your early harvest, your main harvest, and your later ones. Don't ask me what they all taste like, because I'm not 100% sure. I do have my old favourites, such as Rocket, Cliff Kidney, which is an old favourite one, and Jersey Binning. Those are the only ones that I've actually grown. So if anybody's got any light on which ones they recommend, I'd like to hear it. So when you buy your potatoes, basically they come in a bag and you take them out, and I've been using egg cartons for a couple of years now, and that actually works out pretty well. And I put them down in a way so these ones I put in the glass house for a while. You see it there? So all those, most of those are all starting to chip to the top. This one here was actually upside down, so it's gone around the right way now. But when they're in the glass house, somebody watered them and somebody put a hammer on top of them, which didn't do much good. So that's why some of them are quite wet. So don't put a hammer on top of yours at home. Okay, so basically you put them somewhere where they're out of the sun, but they don't mind a bit of light, and they will start chipping away quite comfortably. So when you pick up your potato, you'll see it's got usually a lot of sprouts on it. This one's got 2 that I can see. This one's got 1. This one's got 2. This one's got 2. So basically what happens, if you want to have big potatoes, you could take some chits off so you only have 1 or at the most 2 if you want larger potatoes. If you want smaller potatoes, which I like, I'd leave all those sprouts on. As you can see, they're right ready to plant now. They're just dying to get away. This potato here is a food source for them to start getting away with, and they're going to get away like robber's dogs. So basically when you put them, keep them in a room around about 10 to 15 degrees, not in direct sunlight, about 2 to 3 weeks before they look like that, and you're all good to go. Decide where you want to put your potatoes. Potatoes always like full sun. Always think of where they come from. They come from tropical South America, so they like full sun, a lot of heat. Bear in mind they're from the Solanum root crop, so to avoid phytophthora or blight, you need to keep them away from other Solanum sort of things like potatoes if you can, and peppers if you can, for 2 reasons. One is the blight could affect them. If you get a disease, it could go through it quite quickly. And the other thing is to keep the disease, any other diseases or pests away as well. Don't forget with the Irish, they had a bad famine in the 1840s, I think it was, And there was 8.5 million in Ireland at that time, and then 2 million starved, and then another 2 million left to go around the world, and so they lost half their population, all because of the humble potato. So, useless bit of information for you. Also, sunflowers can also retard potato growth, so I didn't know that either, but I've just researched that a wee while ago. Companion plants that they like to be planted with is thyme, basil, marigolds, alyssum, onions, chive, and chives work well too. So alyssum is actually quite strange. With alyssum with tomatoes, it does help in keeping aphids away from your tomatoes and your potatoes. So it's quite interesting to think about that. Right, there's 3 methods we're going to try today. One is the trench method, which is this here. That is probably the most common way most people have been doing it in the past, but that's usually in a soil. So what you do is, I'll show you later on anyway, but what you do is you dig a trench, first of all. Actually, no you don't. First of all, you get rid of your weeds on top, okay? And I always say to dig down about 30 millimetres, scrape off all your topsoil, that gets rid of any weed seeds, any bugs, any bits and pieces that might be there. Then after that you use potato food, which is this here. And you put a good generous sprinkling of that where you're going to be putting the potatoes. And because potatoes are big calcium feeders, they like gypsum. That's the stuff here. Have you got gypsum at home? Really good. Gypsum's, the best thing about gypsum is it adds calcium, which is great for strengthening the cell walls of a plant, but it doesn't affect the pH. Because most potatoes like a pH of about 5.5 to 6, you can use this form of calcium quite easily, and it prevents a lot of the scab that they might get on the potato. It's almost like an eczema that they get on it, and that's usually because of lack of calcium. And once you put your potato food on and your gypsum on, then you can dig it well in, and or alternatively, if you're going to be doing it in the trench, like we're going to be showing you, we can just put it at the bottom of the trench, put a bit of soil on top. That way your potatoes aren't growing straight on a fertiliser, because it can burn them if you're not careful. So we'll show you that in a minute. Right, so there's a trench planting method. There's a Ruth Stout way. Has anybody done Ruth Stout way? And what that is basically, you have to, excuse my, that's supposed to be straw.
It looks like it.
It does? Oh, good. So what you do basically is you prepare your ground as usual, you put your potatoes on top, just on top of the ground, and then you cover them with about sort of 4 inches. Are we talking inches or metric?
I don't know. What do you mean?
Okay, 4 inches or 100 mils of pea straw or hay or whatever straw you've got, but be careful if you're doing that you don't use straw that has been weed killed to, when you're doing it. So our pea straw is really, really good. So I'm just going to show you how to do that today. So when you're planting your potatoes, you should be planting maybe 40 centimetres, because you don't want them growing too close together. And we'll show you how to do that in a second. And the other way we can do it is in containers. Okay, so we'll show you the containers as well. I prefer the containers because I've got a very, very small garden, and so I like the containers because, one, I can control how much water I give it. I don't leave it too wet or too dry. And it's also, it's easier to harvest. You just pull it out and do it. If you're doing trench planting, when I used to do that, I used to have potatoes come up for years and years. So the problem with that is you always have some residual potatoes left in the garden. How many people got raised beds? Oh, most of you have. That's good, because raised beds are much easier on your back. And also, who does their potatoes straight in the ground? Okay, so you people will be doing the trench method, will you? Yeah. Okay, we'll discuss that in a second. Okay, well, excuse my writing, I hope you can read it all right. Hang on. Oops, sorry about that, Mr. Hibiscus. Your trench, putting in a trench, your pros, it's cheapest to sow and produce. You don't need the buckets, you don't need a lot of other stuff. It helps condition the soil. If you're using a trench method and you're putting the soil, it is a good soil conditioner, type of soil conditioner using the trench method. The cons are is it's more susceptible to disease, because if you're growing in your ground in your soil-based media, if you've got a very clayey soil or very, very hard soil, you have to watch your watering regime. And I'd suggest you put some compost in or something to help with the drainage around those potatoes. It's obviously hard to dig when you're harvesting them up. But I mean, the good thing about trench stuff, of course, is that you, if you've got a lot of room and you use it, it's not a bad method of doing things. You have to also watch out with, as I said before, the contamination with any potatoes left in the ground. But again, it's not just, you can weed kill those if you need to. The root stout method, which we'll talk about later on, is less labour to plant and harvest. And what you do with that is we just put the potatoes on top, we cover them with pea straw, and you just let them grow. And you just give them a good watering every so often, but all potatoes should be given a good watering and let it dry back a bit. Check that water, it's not too, the soil is not too wet all the time. But of course, most important, make sure the straw or your hay or whatever you're using is weed killer free. I had a gentleman come to see me and said your tomatoes are really terrible. I went to see him and he'd used pea straw, which had been weed killed when it was harvested. And weed killer on tomatoes or potatoes or anything is devastating. It makes all the leaves go really strappy, and so make sure you do, if you are using this method, you use really good pea straw or barley straw or Indian straw. Of course, the cons are, you've got to keep watered. It's not as effective in keeping the psyllids away, because when I do my planting, I always use neem granules and I put that around the soil. And I don't think the hay or the straw is going to be as good as deterring psyllids. But I'm going to try some this year to see how we go. Container pros, the best method for small gardens like mine. Really easy to harvest, less disease because you've got that control of how much water you're putting in there all the time. And the other thing with buckets is you can take the bottoms of the buckets out and put them straight on the soil if you wish. Cons, of course, it's more expensive. You've got to buy buckets, and you have to be more watchful with watering, especially if you go away. So if you go away on a holiday or whatever, don't expect the bucket to not dry out, because it will, because of course the gravity is just going to push it down anyway. So I'm going to show you how we start doing the planting now. So gosh, I'm going really well. I'm going through this now at the moment. So there might be some questions later on, so we'll look at that. So now I'm going to take my potatoes. This is one called Summer Delight. Anybody grown that before? Yeah, what's that like?
It's brilliant. It grows nice, good sized potatoes that are nice yellow inside.
Okay.
And you can use them for chips, baking, anything.
Okay.
Really good.
Good. Oh, excellent. I'll try that then. Sounds good to me, because this is Summer Delight. We've got that one this year. Most crops of potatoes are about 3 to 4 months, but marrow potatoes a bit longer. So if you are doing that, we've got something on our webpage here about marrow potatoes. So how many people are growing those this year?
Well, yeah, I've got some that have been in the garden for about 15 years.
Yeah.
And mine are South American ones, actually. But
Are they? Okay. All right, well, I don't need that then, do I? So let's put that down there. Because apparently somebody says you cannot boil them. They go all mushy if you do. So you only roast them or
yeah.
something else here. Okay, right, good. Right, we'll take our potatoes and we'll do the trench method first.
They need a hard edge too.
Now I'm going to leave all these sprouts on, because this one's only got 2, this one's only got 1, this one's got 2. All right, so got to watch out for these boxes. I've actually got nails sticking out of them. So basically, when you're doing your trench method, you pass me that please, Chris. I've actually cheated really here, because this is a really nice soft mix. It's not a hard soil mix. So basically what you do is you take off your top soil, just a wee bit down, put it in the compost heap. Then you, I would dig my soil down, probably to about 30 centimetres, a foot.
How do you do that?
And then I would use, if you're going to be growing organically, I'd use something like Ocean Fert. That's really, really quite good as an organic fertiliser. Are people growing organically here?
Sustainable.
Okay, because that is quite good as an organic food. Or you can use sheep pellets, or you can use chicken pellets. But if you're using chicken manure, be very, very careful, because it's very high in nitrogen, especially if it's fresh.
Grocery this weekend.
And I would put a decent bit of gypsum, like that. I would put the fertiliser on, which I've probably left up there, have I? Yes, I have. Hang on. Oh, go this way. Oh, thanks very much for that. Cheers. Thank you very much. And this comes in a 500 gram or a 1 kg. And this potato food here, this is a Morton Smith one. It's very high, it's very balanced, but it's quite high in P, which is just what you would need for root crops. And it's also very, very beneficial if you're planting peonies. It's a good fertiliser for those as well. We can open these, that will go everywhere. Bring us a knife. Oh. Oh, it's all right, I'll get it. Gosh, that's quite a tough bag, that, actually. So what I'll do with that is I'll very carefully get it and just sprinkle it in the trench. Like so. What's that, about a handful per lineal metre? And that's just going to give those potatoes a good start. I'll just stick that in a wee bit like that, because you do need it to, you don't want a sort of flat pan so much for it to start off with. And then if you wish to, you could put a bit of soil on top. Ready to plant. Get your potatoes, look at your sprouts, always plant your sprouts upward. Put them in a way so when you cover them with soil, they're not going to fall over. About every 35, 40 centimetres. And I'll take it from either end, but just like that. Now there is conjecture. Some people say you can cover them right up, but I like to leave mine until they come through, then I like to cover them a bit more. But I would actually cover them about sort of that much there. And then when they come up, then you get some more of this, and then you cover them up again. So if you can, you have it so where your potatoes are coming, you've got more of a valley on each side, and it's mounted up here. So if you do have very heavy rain, your water runs off. And if you are on a hill, make sure that water runs off one way. Don't have the water sitting or puddling. So you can keep on mounting those up as they grow. Yeah, so that's what I would do if I was doing the trench method. Now the root stout method is slightly different, and as far as you prepare the ground the same way. Make sure it's reasonably level before you start. I forgot to get a rake. Use your gypsum. Potatoes are actually really quite tough little things. Now I talk a lot about Tribon, but I wouldn't use Tribon on potatoes. And the reason why I wouldn't use Tribon on potatoes is the nitrogen's too high. You really want a nice balanced NPK. The nitrogen would be too high for this, so that's the main reason why we're using this stuff here.
What's that stuff called?
I'll just let that sift through your fingers. Sorry?
What's that stuff called that you put in?
Oh, this stuff here is called potato fertiliser from Morton Smith.
Okay.
High grade. And it's just, it's the best stuff for that. You can supplementary feed if you wish to later on, but you shouldn't probably have to. So that's probably that's about a square metre, isn't it? A bit more than that. Probably 2 handfuls per square metre. That will do. Now to dig that in. This is nice and easy because this is actually recycled potting mix which we sell here, which is really, really good. It's a mix that we've grown a crop in, and then we've dumped all the stuff out of it. It's pH adjusted to about 5.6 to 5.8. and it's all good to use. If you want to use it, we sell it by the track bucket or bobcat bucket. Yeah, make sure you break up any clods that are on there. Spread that out. You're going to use a rake, which I haven't got. That looks pretty good to me. Then I'll plant those. Like that. Put them in reasonably deep. You could stagger them if you wish. Might plant them all actually. I've got so many of these troughs lying around with strawberries and old tomatoes and so many things in there now. So that's all you do with those. And then use straw or hay. And it's not a bad idea to wear a mask either if you're putting the stuff on, because it can get pretty dusty. Suffer from asthma or anything? Not good. Make sure you do wear a mask if you do. Sorry, I forgot to do something. Before you put it on there, make sure you mark where your potatoes are. Okay? Okay, that's good, because I'll show you why later on. And you want probably about 4 inches or 4 to 5 inches of pea straw on that. And if you come to another one of my talks later on, we'll see them growing. Might just leave them outside. Pea straw is probably one of the cheapest straws you can get, which is good. And we've got plenty of it out there too. Just break that up, like so. Now apparently it's really easy to harvest. When it comes to harvesting, you just pull it off like that and lift them out, and the potatoes are down. They're all nice and easily cleaned and easily harvested.
How do you find the wind with the straw? Does it blow away?
Yeah, it does. That's why you give it a good watering, and then you put this sort of stuff on top. Is that where that mark is? Put it on top like that, and you can put another lot crossways on that so it keeps it down. It only needs to be kept down for a short period of time until that pea straw just settles down a bit. You can use hay, but I'm not sure how many weed seeds it might be in hay. So if you need to, you can put another lot of stakes, or it doesn't have to be a stake, it can be a bit of wood or whatever, just to hold that down until it starts doing its thing. Okay. Right, and the last one, of course, is containers, which is what I like doing. So, do the container. The good thing about container planting in tyres is they're black, so they attract the heat. So it's actually quite a good way to do it. I'll plant this first, actually. Right. So if you're doing your tyre thing, or your container thing, I'd fill it up first, about a third of the way. Again, this is beautiful, so I'm actually cheating a wee bit. Damn.
What have you lost?
I've planted all my potatoes. That's got to be stuff up, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I hope you get the gist of it. Damn.
Take one out of the...
I didn't think I didn't. What's that?
Take one out of the...
No, I don't want to leave them there. I've just got all that. Sorry?
What's in the bowl?
Oh, that's kumara. Yeah. Oh, look. Just bear with me a minute. I'll just run off and get my next lot. I left them in my office, so sorry about that. So basically what I do is I fill this about a third with these ones here. So it's pretty right. Again, gypsum, it's really great. If you're using shrub and tub mix, which I'm going to use at home on my ones, I'm just try on this one. So disorganised today. I'll put that fertiliser.
Next week,
Oh dear, oh dear. Sorry about this, folks. And no, I'm a bit disorganised today. Put a bit of soil on like that. If you're using shrub and tub, which I'm going to use, you wouldn't need to put any fertiliser on at all, because shrub and tub's really good. And then with these here, can you see okay, Dennis, or not? I'd go one.
Just before you go too far, would you mix all that in like you did at the other?
Thanks, I'm just testing you. Why did you say something? Yes, you mix it in, you like you do. I was just testing you, it's good to see you up there. Quite right. And you put 3 in, and you can mark where you're putting them. You can do 3 to 4. On some of those, you probably almost get away with 4. Put 3 in anyway. Now they're going to grow more across. Okay, so what we'll do at the end is we'll cover that. Where's my pen? You can just put a mark on where you're doing them. So mark there, there, there. Actually, would you go 3 or 4? I'd probably almost go 4. I'd go 4 actually. It's so close to that now.
Excuse me, what's the purpose of marking?
Oh, the purpose is you're going to stagger them. You're going to put these ones like this, then you put the next ones in between, up here, and that way. So now I'll go and mark that up as well. So I'm going to put it there. There, that one's right. That one, and that one. So what you do is then you put a lot more soil on. Food. Some. What do we do now before we plant? Yeah, we dig it in, that's right. Make sure you don't dig up the potatoes you just put in.
Would your shrub and tub mix still need all the extra
No,
stuff?
no, it's very high in gypsum anyway, but I would probably put a wee bit of gypsum in just for the sake of preventing that scab on the potato. I'll just use a bit of gypsum with shrub and tub. The next ones would go, here's my first one, so I'd go there. I'll go in between this time, yeah. And I could plant them a wee bit closer too. Close to the centre. Put the next one on top like that, pull up again. So you want these tyres, they're outside the thing, so you're getting rid of them, okay? That's if you want them, otherwise I'll
Can we just
just
grab it if we want one?
Sorry?
Can we just grab it if we want one? Or
Yeah, take as many as you want, they're just sitting outside the retail.
They come with cobwebs.
Sorry?
They come with cobwebs and spiders.
Oh yeah, watch out for whitetails, yeah. And I would do like that. And as they come up, then you just mound them up a wee bit more, if you understand, and you've got another one here. And start off with your biggest tire at the bottom, and your smallest tire at the top. They don't fall over. They get 3. Okay. And the good thing about that is black, and so they will attract the heat. and because he actually cut the rims of the tyres off, you don't have a lot of water sitting in there either. If you use other tyres, you'd have to put soil into the outsides of it. Right, if you wanted to, you could, if you put it on the ground, you could dig your soil a wee bit underneath your tyres because they've got no bottoms to them, and they would also go into the ground a wee bit as well if you wanted to. With the buckets, you got your large bucket, which is, how much is that? 50 litre, is it? Yeah, 50 litre. And you got your smaller one, which is 30 litre. I'll get one of these as well. How many potatoes have I got left? Okay, right. Gosh, it's hot in here.
My nose is still cold.
You made it very hard on me keeping these heaters on today, you people. Oh no, that's got a hole in it. That's good. So if I was using a bucket, and the bucket's quite good, got those in the retail, same sort of thing applies. I do about a third of it. And what I've done with this one, I've already marked it. So on this one here, I've got a cross, and I've got a round piece. So I've already marked it into thirds. Oh yes, that's right, yes. So you get your gypsum, got a good handful in there, or half a handful. Take it in again. But that's all you need to do with that. You don't need any fertiliser with it at all. In fact, we had a potato growing competition here, and the lady who did it just used shrub and tub. That's all she used. And she won it 2 years in a row, so that's what I'm going to do this time. So you've got to listen and learn to other people, see if they have success. So, there. I'm doing the round ones now, so there. And there, I'm going to leave all these islets on, all the sprouts on. For that you need two bags. I don't even need much gypsum actually. I'll just put a little sprinkle on this one. Just move it around a wee bit. Now we're going to put where the square pieces are. So I've done 6 all the way around. So we're going to stagger it this time round. Square, yeah. I wouldn't put any more than 6 in because it could tend to be just a bit too crowded. And if it's too crowded, you won't get the light coming into it the same. We also have green bags. The same principle applies, but whatever you're planting in, make sure you get you have them with holes. We fly there, so you can actually start harvesting earlier if you wish. I haven't grown these boys. Have I grown these? Have you had good success in those? Have fun? Small success, yeah. Well, they're green, so they won't attract the heat so much, but I think most of it is a matter of using really good soil as well. So if you've got them, try using shrub and tub this time, see what happens. You've got this one here too, which is a felt bag. How much are these, do you know? Well, that's black, and it's quite tough. So, again, it's about the same size as a 50 litre. So you can put 6 in those quite comfortably. That's
How
quite
many
nice.
potatoes would you get from 6, do you reckon?
30, 40? Is that about fair? When I did mine last year, I actually used garden soil out of my home with a bit of total replenish around them. And I got about 50, I think, yeah, out of one thing. So it's really quite prolific. We're going to talk about it soon anyway.
How many do you put in?
Pop that up. Bear in mind, if you have immune compromised lungs, you should wear a mask when you're doing that. But this has been, I've just opened this ages ago, so the last workshop, so I know it's all good. And then I'll leave that like that. That's pretty good. Now, don't forget to water it, because that's really, really important. And when you water it, you want to make sure that water's coming right out through the bottom. If you wanted to, you could take, as I said, you could take the bottom off if you want to put it on the soil. You could do that, but that's a lot of drainage holes, so it's really, really good for drainage. So what I would do now with that, there's two things I'd do. One, I'd watch out for frost. So if you've got microclimate or frost cloth, because they are highly frost-tended potatoes. So if you've got microclimate or frost cloth, watch out for that, because what determines our frost for us, of course, is how much snow is on the Alps. And there's a lot of snow on the Alps at the moment. And also, I'd use neem granules. These are tree granules, they're on special at the moment, $4 off a bag. If you need some, I use it on my veggie garden from now on, and I use it on potatoes as well from now on. The pest we're trying to control the most on this is psyllid, because psyllid is very, very damaging to potatoes and tomatoes. And so I'd put a handful of this around each one of those, probably every 4 to 6 weeks. And I'd use it in my veggie garden now too, because you want to get it onto your veggie garden, onto those delicate veggies and things before you get aphids coming in. And it's already aphids coming in now, so I've noticed some on some of my rose bushes at home. Right, we're up
You
to.
know how they start frost tender? Is it only frost tender when the leaves come through? Or is it frost tender regardless?
It's frost tender regardless.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. Don't forget, it's in South America, tropical South America, I don't think it gets below 30 odd degrees most of the time. And so that's why we've got to grow these crops early and get them in nice and early, then you can get another crop out of it later on as well. So that's the whole idea, to get them nice and early. You'll have potatoes for Christmas if you have it, get onto this now, which is really, really good. As they grow, they'll come up in clusters, and apart from neem granules, keep them wet. Somebody said put a saucer underneath. It's quite a good idea if you want to. I do the same with my tomatoes, but just make sure they're not in water all the time. They don't like having wet feet all the time. And so as they grow, the leaves will come up, and when they come into flower, there's conjecture. Some people say when they come into flower, take those flowers off. Some varieties won't flower. Does anybody take the flowers off when they come up? You don't? Well, try to avoid them seeding though, because you don't want them seeding, because those seeds are poisonous. And you'll know when it's ready to harvest, because half the plant will start to die off, and you can, if you get a disease on them like blight, you can take that foliage right off. It's better to take that foliage right off than have the disease go down to the crowns into the tubers themselves. So when you come to harvest them, quite easy with a fork with the trench method. Make sure you dig down, and make sure if you do puncture them, you use those ones, eat those ones first, because they will rot very, very quickly if you punch them with a fork or anything like that. So yeah, you dig those up, and with a fork, and you can actually start, because they're in a row and it's straight, you can dig up what you need as you need it too. If you're digging up from the merry other stout way, you can do the same sort of thing. But if you're doing that way, you really sort of destroy the whole thing at once, and if it's in a bucket. So once they're dug up, leave them on the soil for a little bit. Oh, actually before that, once they die off, you can actually take all the foliage off and leave them for a couple of days in the ground. That helps toughen up the skins a wee bit. And then after that, when you dig them up, you can leave them on the ground for a couple of hours, 3 hours to dry out the soil. Then you can just start putting them away. Or if you pack them away in anything, put them in a breathable bag or something out of the sun, because otherwise they will turn green. So it's really important to store them so they're not going green at any time. They should store for a long, long time, but of course check them all the time, because you might not have realised that you might have nicked one, or it might have got damaged a wee bit. You don't want them to go, because they'll put off the whole crop if you let that happen. So, are there any questions?
You were saying about they store for a long time. What sort of time frame?
Oh, they should store for about 6 months, I would have thought, yeah. Yeah, we've got a potato expert here. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they can actually store.
Okay.
Yeah, I store mine for 8 months.
8 months, yes?
Yeah.
Because I haven't stored mine any more than 6 months, because I just eat them by then. So,
I've got a couple of potatoes that have gone to seed in the pantry. Can I plant those?
I don't see why not.
So you don't actually have to always use all seed potatoes?
Well, the thing with the potatoes, the seed potatoes that we get are kind of certified that they've been grown, so they haven't had any psyllid damage, because 1 in 10,000 psyllids apparently carries a bacterium, and that can be really devastating to the potato crop, and they got caught with that a lot of times. But if you are getting taking seed potatoes, try and take the smaller ones if you possibly can. Yeah, and I don't see why you can't. That's what I've done with my kumara. That came from the supermarket. Yeah. Yes, I don't see why you can't. Does anybody feel differently than that? No, because that's what they come from anyway, so yeah. Yes, sir.
Just wondering about the seed potatoes, have they been sprayed at all prior to them being grown?
The question is, have they been sprayed at all prior to growing? Not sure, I do not know. We get them from Morton Smith. I don't think it says anything on the bag, but I could find out for you if you wish. Yes, the question is, can you grow them from seed to make them disease-free? Yes, you can, but it's a very, very long time thing to do. Back in the 70s, we had Lincoln University come through and we sowed a whole lot of seeds for them, but it didn't work out very well because of the amount of time it took to get them to that process. But yes, you can, but it's a very long process to get them to the seed potato.
Are you going to use the clay breaker?
Big fun?
What do you use?
Oh, sorry, yeah, what do we use the clay breaker for? This is gypsum. The gypsum is used for, it's mostly used as in our fertilisers for adding calcium to the soil mixes without affecting the pH. The only way you can mostly put calcium into your soil mixes, and it does affect the pH, is when you use lime, like dolomite lime or ag lime. Whereas this here does not affect the pH. So because the potatoes are an acid-loving sort of plant, we don't want to bring that pH up by using lime. So we want to keep it quite low. That's why we use the soil breaker. It's called soil breaker, but it's actually used for a lot of things. If you break your arm, they use it for making plaster in Paris as well. So I'll come back to you and say, yes, ma'am.
When you talked about the ocean fert at the beginning, was that instead of the Morton?
Correct, yes. When I talk about ocean fert, because I'm doing talks to the Canterbury Horticultural Society, and a lot of the younger people don't want to grow in the old ways that we used to do things, so they wanted to go in organically. So I'm doing a lot more work around organic sort of fertilisers and organic, sort of different ways of growing crops. So that's stuff. And I have put some trials down with that ocean fert, and it is working really quite well as an organic fertiliser. Most organic fertilisers only last for about a month to a month and a half. That one seems to last a bit longer, which is really good. Yes, down there.
How do you know when the potatoes are ready to harvest?
Generally, you know when they're ready to harvest because 50% of the crop or so will be starting to die off. At the very earliest is when they finish flowering, or and some varieties don't flower or don't flower very much. But generally, when they naturally start dying down until they virtually died down is the best time. Yes.
For companion planting, do you recommend putting the odd plant in amongst the potatoes or separately in pots around the area?
Separately around it, because if you're growing that way, they'll get quite bushy, and I'll just put them around it. Yeah, but that's what I've actually learned, that marigolds are quite good. Alyssum is especially good because we tried alyssum around tomatoes last year, and it kept all the aphids off. Probably one of the best things for keeping whitefly and most bugs off is Naproline, which is cat repellent, and we sell it there. But what you do is put in little sachets and you hang it up in your glass house if you've got problems with whitefly, and it deters the smell of the tomatoes and the other plants, and it keeps everything away. Last year we did a trial with Naproline or cat repellent on our swan plants, but we hung it up above the swan plants, and it kept the monarch butterflies away and all the aphids away until we were ready to sell them. Then they went on to them. So Naproline cat repellent, old mothballs is called. That was taken off the market because some kid ate them. Silly kid. There's natural selection for that sort of thing. So they were taken off the market. So I'm trying to get to the stage where I can get a bag of it, and we could probably start bagging up some of it ourselves because it is quite expensive buying it as a cat repellent, but it's very, very effective for keeping insects off crops.
Just one thing back with that watering, with raised beds, you said it was a couple of days for your main crop. How long? Because when they're they're growing up and getting down to it, with your overhead spray type things, I think that's what you use.
No, I always water around the crop. I hardly ever water, spray on top of the crop. I always, if I can, drippers or so I'd really try to avoid, especially on your your South American native sort of plants, I try to avoid wetting the foliage as much as I can.
We do it in the morning, early
Yes,
morning.
do it in the early morning, yep.
Yep.
But if you can, water underneath the foliage. If you can't, if you use a sprinkler, avoid having them wet at night. That's the only thing.
Okay.
If you want to know,
How long though? How much water are you putting on? That's the, is it?
yes, I was going to say exactly that. Don't forget, when there's no foliage, then they're going to need less water. As the foliage comes up and they're transpiring more, they're going to need a lot more water. And as they set up those potatoes, most of that's water, so they're going to be using more water for that too. So less water at the start, much more water at the end. And if you really want to know probably how the best way of doing it, I'd be having them up off the ground maybe a little bit and water them till you see it running through, and then you leave it until they're quite dry up top. But I wouldn't let them wilt, because I don't like coming under stress like that. Actually, I guess with my tomatoes, I water them every second day in the summertime in the heat of the season, and probably once a week during the lesser time.
And you use a dripper with tomatoes too?
No, I don't. I actually use yes, actually no. I did buy a dripper system this year, but I used to just use a watering can, just pour it on. Because with mine, I do a big reservoir, so I just pour it on till it reaches the top of the bag, and then it just drains right the way through. The most important thing is to have lots of drainage. And you best to water it and let it run right the way through. So I would water it until you see the water maybe come out through the bottom, because those potatoes are quite low as well. But what the low potatoes are the ones you have to watch out the most for with disease, with root rots. The only other way you could do it would be maybe to maybe cut a hole in the bottom of your bucket or up where your potatoes are.
Raised beds.
Oh, sorry, raised beds. Maybe have a bit of a observation trench down or something that you can actually see what's happening with it. Yeah. They're pretty resilient though, potatoes are, so you'd have to be doing something pretty wrong for it to happen, especially on raised beds. It's different if it's in the ground and you get a lot of rain, or a lot of and the ground's always sodden. That's when you get with water. That's when you get most of the problems. Okay. Yes, over there.
Have you got any advice on how to increase your yields? What's the best way to increase your yields for potatoes?
I'm sorry, any ideas on how to increase the yield?
Yeah.
Plant more potatoes. Fertiliser is very important. More potatoes. Get as many potatoes as you can without them overcrowding. But the idea is to. I think if you use a really good mix, I keep talking about it all the time, your soil is everything. We are what we eat. It's the same with our plants. So have your best soil as you possibly can. Good open draining soil is very important. If you've grown potatoes in a very clayey soil, generally your yield will be lower, in my opinion, than what it will be if you have a really good free draining soil. Try and keep them warm. Try and avoid them getting frosted. Watering regime is very important. But that's about the best thing I can do. Apart from that, I've only grown crops of potatoes 3 times now. So, and I had mixed results when I used soil out of my garden because I didn't fertilise it enough. So this year I'm going to be using shrub and tubs. Here we go. Okay.
Sorry. Just if you're rotating your crop and you're putting in potatoes and you previously had brassicas or plants where you've added lime, so does the lime sort of give way to the likes of the gypsum?
The question is, if you've planted a lot of lime before, has everybody got a soil pH testers or anything like that? Because a lot of people don't know what your pH of your soil is, and it's very important to know what your soil pH is. If your pH on your soil is too unfavourable to your plants, what happens is the plants will not be able to absorb the nutrients that are in the soil. So it's really important you do know what your pH of your soil is, but lime, once you've got lime in your soil, it stays there quite a long time, for maybe a couple of years or whatever. But don't forget, every time you water your garden, our water is 7, so it's neutral. So most people's gardens would be up around about the 6.87, I would have thought, in most gardens. If you want to bring your pH down, you dig in a bit of peat, which has a pH of about 4.8, and that way it would bring your pH down a wee bit. But potatoes are pretty resilient. It's quite a big range to grow it on, from 5.5 to 6. You never go about probably even 6.5 before it would have any problem. But if you've got problems with your acid-loving plants such as your camellias, rhododendrons, ericas, blueberries, it's probably a pH problem that you've got. That it's probably too alkaline. the soil and it's not absorbing the nutrients and they're struggling a wee bit.
What the problem is with the fruit.
We do sell pH testers, and it's a good idea to use because you can get quite a few tests out of them. And if you do it to test your garden, take a bit of soil from a lot of places and then put it all together and test it like that instead of one test for every little bit of soil that you do. With the lime, depends on how much lime you have in your garden too. If you think your ground's quite alkaline, mix a bit of peat in and that'll bring it down a wee bit. Well, it certainly won't do any harm. Soils is one of my favourite things. Yes, Susie?
Would you do straw on top of your containers?
Would I use straw on top of my containers? No, I wouldn't.
Not needed?
No. I'd only use straw if I was... Oh, you can if you want. It would be a mulch, but when that foliage comes up through, it's going to do its thing anyway. The only reason why I'm using straw on these over here is so it makes it easier for harvesting. And that's the reason why we're using that. But on the containers, I probably wouldn't use straw, no. Good question. This lady's asking, do you have to re-fertilise because you're leaching soil every time you water? Generally not, because it's a short-term crop. It's only a 3 to 4 month crop generally. That's enough food to last it right the way through. And especially if you're using a shrub and tub or a fruit and veggie mix, it's got enough food, definitely enough food to last. Yes?
If you're using the round root stout method, do you have to add the straw or that's good for the row? How much you put on?
Oh yes, if we're using the Ruth Stout method, I hope I got her name right too. If she's still alive, no, apparently you don't. It will settle down a wee bit, but the most important thing is if you look at your potatoes and they're green, or they're facing the top, you need to cover them with more soil if that comes to it. Okay, so, but generally that should be enough. 100 to 150 mils should be enough. And once they come through, of course, once the foliage comes through, it's going to shelter and keep the crop nice and dark in any case. I haven't done that method myself, but somebody said that it was really cool when they did it.
So you don't need the straw and the tree planting?
No. The trench planting, you don't need the straw for the trench planting. Basically, you just keep mounting on top. I hope you can understand that, but basically, you should end up with it like that and then that on top like that. So you're taking the soil from here and putting it on top if you need to. But no, you wouldn't put straw on top of the trench. Well, good luck and thanks everybody, and I'm sorry about that muck up before. So, cheers.